Oh, my flower bed. I'm gonna have to move the peonies. They've not grown big enough to have flowers, and each year they get a bit bigger, but I couldn't have a whole peony bush there. I wouldn't have any room for anything else. So that was a huge bush, and I cut it right down, and it's starting to sort of fill back in. It was just too big and scruffy, and it was getting in the way of the flower bed, so I really drastically cut it down. It was sort of level with this sort of bit here, about 3/4 of the way up the trellis height. So anyway, the roses are doing amazingly this year. This little bush here was like ailing, like it was dead and old and sort of a bit diseased, and every year it wasn't quite dead, so I just left it, and it's gone nuts. And the climbing one, it had climbed quite well last year, but it just keeps filling in. This one here, this weedy little rose bush, it never gets any bigger than the weedy little rose bush it is. But it has these funny roses that are, it looks like, you know, the Alice in Wonderland cartoon where she's painting the roses red. If she just sort of splashed the white rose and it was just sort of covered in white red paint spots, that's what they look like. They're very pretty, but it never sort of grows any further. Anyway, that would be cherries. And it did this last year, like it looked all hopeful, like it was going to have loads and loads of cherries, and then everything except like 3 of them fell off. So I don't know why that would happen. And those are little rose bushes. They're like the ones you can get in Tesco's for like £2. They only ever grow that size. They must be sort of a miniature variety. That freesia thing there is the most smelly, lovely thing. It comes again every year. So that's apples. So got a few. Not a bumper load actually. There we go. More flowers and pears. I don't think a huge amount of the flowers got fertilised this year, which is odd because it was good weather and like the bugs were out, the bees and everything, but maybe it needed a rest. It had, I don't know, it had about 50 pears last year. All the branches were hanging down, deformed by how much fruit they had, so maybe it's having a rest. More flowers. Again, I don't remember the names of everything I plant. This thing has burst into flowers and just spread and spread, and it's covering up a lot of the things I planted. So some of them look like they're getting through, but no. The person who was here before liked bushes. I don't particularly like bushes, especially the ones that only flower for like a really short amount of time. So I keep cutting them right down, and they keep going back. That gap in the middle there is another bush that it was so ugly I chopped it all off, and it's still trying to grow back. It's another climbing rose. That one didn't have anything last year, so that one's gone nuts. It's another cherry. I need to get on there and with a brush and get rid of all the willow, what are they called, cat tails? Cat something or other. I've been cutting back some of the Lelandia there because it was going in my face every time I try to come through the gap with the mower. The problem is it's a long, long way from the power socket to here. So even with the extender, I could only just about reach here. And I've got the power socket on the wall of the white building, and it'll just about reach for the same sort of distance. We can only do a little bit at a time. And I don't like to buy big petrol engined Watsits because they tend to be a lot more dangerous, and you have to start them, and there's all kinds of like more maintenance issues and stuff. So I've got an even weedier one that's a battery powered one, but it's on a stick, so you've got like a reach of about, I don't know, call me 6 foot tall, and then I've got like an extra 8 foot on top of that. So that's how I get up to about, you see where I've not been able to get before, you'll see where it goes nuts higher up. So I'll use that for the rest of it. I know it's not really the season you're supposed to be cutting your hedges, but all the birds have fledged, so there's none actively nesting at the moment. And if I don't control the Leylandia, it just grows out by another foot and another foot and another foot, because this is what it looks like. And it takes up like somewhere between about 10 and about 16 feet in places, like that's sort of lost from the garden. And I like it, and it's a good barrier, and I've got enough garden to be getting on with. But like, I'd rather not it just creep and creep. And then if I ever have to cut it back, then it would just be all ugly like that. So this was where I had my daffodils and snowdrops and bluebells and tulips for some reason. And then it just got overgrown with nettles, and sticky weed is going nuts, absolutely insane. So I used the trimmer and it was a mess, and I've actually just cut back a whole load of this one because it was overhanging. So like that is how much it overhung by since last year. So it's a mess, and I'll probably just leave it, because in summer you can't grow anything there because all these trees are very thirsty. So it's not really suitable for anything much, but they grow spring flowers. That's an apple tree. I know it's in a weird place, but it was basically because there was a big hole where people could see through there, which sort of went straight from my bedroom window. And then there's a fake leaves, those are. I've put like fake leaf thing on the fence, and then through there is a walking path. Quite a lot of people go down. So I said about sticky weed, it's everywhere. Anyway, I cut that one back, and then this, I grew Leylandia to fill the gaps in this horrible hawthorn hedge, because when I got here it was about 14 foot high and all the greenery was at the top, and this was just bare like trunks. And finally got it cut down, and then it started to fill out, but it's only really slowly. So I planted the Leylandia to fill the gap in the meantime, which it does really, really well. It doesn't look like it from this angle, but like further up it's just a complete screen. So it did its job. But I've always been cutting it right back, so although it's quite tall, it's only, like less than a foot away from its trunks, just to keep it under control, which I'm surprised actually it lets me. It seems to have worked out that if it sends out branches sideways and fills the gaps, they're not going to get cut off. So it's doing its job. But yeah, I nearly couldn't mow most of this bit here because of all the sticky out bits. And again, this hedge is like 6 foot wide. You can't. It's huge. I bet they had actually a reasonable amount of grass there. But it's just grown out and grown out and grown out. Anyway. Got clematis there, and my dragon that it's grown over, that I kind of like the look of. It looks a little bit like the end scene of Sleeping Beauty when the dragon's in amongst the thorns. So I like that. And more flowers. And those sweet peas are some kind of weird variety that comes again every year, not from seeds, from something in that exact spot there, because if it was just falling seeds, it would be coming from everywhere. And it's a weird variety that's just entirely all pink and completely scentless. So the ones that I plant each year, colourful ones from seed, they have nice smell. But this one just regrows, and it's pretty enough, but hasn't got sweet pea smell. I've put a few little sweet pea seedlings there. So my little bird bath in there. The bird feeder is a tiny one. My previous one snapped, so I thought I'd buy one the same, and the picture looked the same, except that it's a lot smaller and very weedy. So like if it's on the slightest angle, the weight of the bird feeders pulls it over. So yeah, that wasn't a good buy. Those are just kind of the same as the other beds, the other side, the other pots. It's a little rose bush that again I think I bought for like £5. I'm going to have to really keep on top of watering it, or else it's not going to do very well in a pot. But I had a few spare pots because not all my geraniums survive the winter. The ones that are there, they're big ones that I got from a big posh garden centre, and they've survived year by year. But every other one that I bought, that sort of, you buy it in a little, you buy it sort of in a little pot that size, and it grows and it fills the container like that one, and then it just dies over the winter. Even if I bring them in, these ones kept flowering through most of the winter. Anyway, they're doing well. Some boxes to pick up. And this sort of rock flower thing, it was really doing well, and then the hot weather came and it lost lots of its flowers. So it's not done more than that. It just keeps sending out little flowers. So it's not ailing exactly, it's just not bothering with flowers because it's too hot, I guess. Anyway. I completely demolished this tree about a year and a half ago because it had grown way too big. So I went up inside and cut some of its tangly branches, but then that left big holes, so they filled in now, and it makes a really good like parasol. Sophie comes under here, don't you, Sophie, for a bit of shade? Yeah. Oh, it's really good. One of the reasons I haven't bought a parasol, but also I get so much wind in my garden. If I put it up one day and didn't take it down, it would be the other side of the hill if a gust of wind came along. So anyway.